What up, world? Welcome to another jam-packed edition of Blunt Talk Quick Takes, NBA Finals Game 7 Preview, and NBA Trade Update Edition. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful and humid confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast not only on YouTube, but you can find the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, Patreon, Trovo, and as well as on Podbean. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Thanks. Happy to be here with you guys. Like I said, this episode is going to be more or less a preview going into Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I'm going to talk about that, who I think are going to be the major factors, who I think is going to pretty much win the game, who's going to win Finals MVP, things like that. Also, I'd be remiss if I don't talk about the monumental and massive trade that just took place not even an hour ago with Kevin Durant, or an hour ago Eastern Standard Time. It's 1:48 p.m. where I'm at, but about an hour ago, Kevin Durant was traded to the Houston Rockets, causing a polar shift in the Western Conference, and what I think how the top 5 or top 3 in the West will shape out, and what this means for the Phoenix Suns going forward as well. So a lot of things to get into, but before we do, as you guys already know, we always make sure we give shout outs to friends of the show before we go into it any further. First and foremost, if you're an avid gamer, I would implore you, because you have 3 days, and I do repeat, 3 whole fucking days left. Sony's Days of Play. Definitely don't forget to check it out. There will be a link within the description box of this video. It's going to be ending pretty much June 25th. So if you don't get it in time, you missed the boat. The whole thing's been going on for a month. But I implore you, definitely check it out. A lot of bundle packages, great sales on games and accessories. Sony PlayStation, more than a game. Looking to get out this weekend, looking to take your spouse out, have a great time with some friends, then look no further than the #1 leading ticket seller and reseller in the world, StubHub. #1 seller in the world for live events, tickets, shows, and concerts, StubHub. All right, guys. So hopping into this, I didn't do a recap for Game 6 because there was ultimately no need. I mean, the Pacers pretty much had their game in hand all the way through, winning 1-0. Let's see here. It was 108 to 91. So Pacers pretty much had their game in hand. Halliburton played through the injury, 14 points, made his leading scorer, but not really anything too much to be talked about. OKC was flat. You can see that the energy from Indiana was there. Indiana did exactly what we all kind of hoped would happen in this series, because we all, let's be honest, we all low-key wanted this. We wanted a Game 7 in the NBA Finals. This Finals has been everything that I've wanted. I mean, typically growing up, you want, the Lakers, or you want Jordan, or you want, the big name stars and the big markets, which do add a different flair and a feel to the Finals. But this has been a massive success by the NBA for them getting these teams to wind up in the, through the tournament and then end up in the NBA Finals, because Oklahoma City and Indiana, both small markets, both teams, both kind of built the teams differently. Oklahoma City through the draft, Indiana through trades and some drafting. Ultimately, though, you have to kind of look at this and say, should be a blueprint for, a lot of small market teams, Sacramento, and a lot of other teams, who have been, for lack of better words, incompetent or fucked up, in the front office for the past, 10 or 15 or 20 years. This should be a blueprint for you to see, like, you can make an NBA Finals if you do things the right way. If you, aren't cheap, and you put the money and the resources in, and you draft properly, you trust your evaluations, more than likely you have a chance that you can do something. But it's just amazing to see. Everybody thought this was going to be a fucking snooze fest, and it ultimately is wound up being one of the best things that could have happened for the NBA and the fan base. So love that. I love the fact that the Pacers did not lie down. Everybody thought this series was going to be over at 5 games. I never thought that. I said, a few episodes back, actually, that I thought the Pacers could, potentially this could be the Pacers championship run that we're witnessing. They scared me after they dropped Game 4 and 5 to Oklahoma City, but obviously responded well in Game 6. So that, needless to say, exciting series, thrilling series. Even more or less to this point, more exciting NBA postseason. This was the first NBA postseason in a while where I gave a fuck about the ending. And let me preference what I'm saying by meaning this. How many times have you watched within the past 5 or 10 years, you watched the NBA Finals and you kind of knew who was going to win? Because this team had these guys, this team didn't really have these guys, they're not really equipped. I mean, let's be honest. There was a little hint of wonder with the Celtics Warriors, a couple years ago, but, Celtics weren't ready to beat the Warriors at that point. But, you think of things like that. You think of KD and Steph's Warriors when they had their dynastic run. LeBron and D Wade, in the Heat getting to 4 straight NBA Finals. It's just various teams you think about within the past 10 to 15, 20 years where you're like, yeah, you kind of knew who was going to win. This was the first time in a long time you just did not have a clear fucking indication of who was going to be the NBA champion. I love that. I think parity is a great thing for the NBA, especially because, let's be honest, especially with a lot of the greats getting older and a lot of these new young guys coming in and having to earn their medal and earn their stripes, this is great because this is going to cause people to tune in more because no longer can you sit back and say, well, this team's going to win because they got so-and-so. It doesn't matter. I mean, Minnesota got through the Lakers. Minnesota got through the fucking Warriors. And then they ran into the Thunder and they were no match. No match. I mean, hell, like I said, I'll talk about Houston and the KD trade later, but you see that, they go into the postseason, we're a top 3 seed, get into, round 1, can't win a game 7. Jalen Green's not playing up to performance, off you go. This is the NBA, so I gotta give a massive credit to the NBA. The NBA has low-key stayed up there with popularity and shock. I mean, just hell, it was over a week ago. I mean, it was Father's Day. You got the Desmond Bane trade. I mean, it's just a lot of beautiful things. This postseason, from the basketball played on the court primarily, plus the news that just went on this year, this postseason run. It's just been a magical postseason for the NBA. It's, anything, maybe the broadcasting on the finals could have been better. I'll definitely argue that, but ultimately the gameplay and the trades that have been happening have just been outstanding for the league. But on to Game 7. I think that there's several things that go into the factor for this game. I mean, obviously it's a winner-take-all type scenario. For one, if you're Indiana, play your game. Pace, smart, no turnovers, no stupid-ass plays that's going to cause you to sit there and say, damn, we gave up, 8 straight points in a row to this fucking team. Play smart, play great defense, play with pace if you're Indiana. I think they're going to have to make sure, because being a Halliburton is hobbled, use him when they can. Keep him within the flow of the offense. Keep him consistently touching the ball, whether shooting or passing the ball. Keep him consistently with it in his hands. However, Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell, the Benedict Mathurins, those are the guys that's going to have to step up to that. Now, we all know Pascal Siakam has definitely been playing outstanding this postseason, especially, for the Pacers in the finals. But they're going to need those bench guys to step up. I've been saying it all, throughout the duration of NBA Finals. The Pacers are going to need their bench players to step up in a massive way for them to win this game, especially with Halliburton hobbled. Now, granted, he gave you 14 points the other night. If he gives you anything like 23 to 25, you might have a chance, Indiana, to be NBA champion, honestly, because if he's scoring like that and he's only a couple of days removed from the calf strain, that tells me a lot. But if he's even more sore than what he was the other night, it could go either way. If you're Oklahoma City, it's real simple. And the best is pretty much the same. Both teams play your game. I mean, Oklahoma City has played the better basketball, the more efficient basketball, the smarter basketball in this series. However, their three-point shooting's been suspect. They've had games where they've just, and it's not even a lot of, I think it's been maybe 1 or 2, but they've had a couple games where they've had 15-plus turnover games. That can't happen today. And ultimately, somebody outside of SGA has to carry the scoring load. Now, we all crown Jalen Williams and have been crowning Jalen Williams for this NBA Finals run. He has had a great run. Game 6 was horrible. Game 6 was probably the worst game of his postseason career. With that being said, how does he respond? Chet Holmgren, can we get some three-point shooting from you today? Can we get, a point to where you can actually hit some shots and, a little bit more consistently from the three-point range? That's going to be needed. Is his defense and effort going to be there today? Because it's going to have to be there for them to win. If Oklahoma City plays their game like they've always played, everybody expects them to win this series. But I've always said, and I've said this since the series, started, and they got into it within the first couple games. Indiana's the road warriors. I get it that Oklahoma City has SGA. They got Jalen. They got Chet. Their bench. They got Caruso. Their bench is lethal. And they can tear you up, man. They can go on a fucking run and just destroy you and bury you. But the point of the emphasis and the matter is, Indiana's been the road warriors this whole postseason. I talked about this in another video where I said they're on a historic pace as far as road victories in an NBA postseason. They're already in the top 10 all time. That's how good this Indiana team has been on the road. So make no mistake about it. I have the Pacers winning Game 7 today. I'll live with the results, win or lose. I'm not even a Pacers fan, so it doesn't matter. But I definitely got the Pacers winning today. It'll be a tight game. It'll definitely be a defensive game. But, maybe not as high scoring as people may expect. But I definitely expect Indiana to win this game today. And from there, we go into the NBA trade news. Kevin Durant going to the Rockets. Wow. My thoughts. Well, one, as I said in the previous video, it'll be a link to this in the description box, as you guys will see. This was massive for Houston and Phoenix. Now, I'm going to touch on the Houston part first before I speak on Phoenix's. For Houston, this was very simple. You are trying to compete for a championship. Ime Udoka in one season has changed everything around. The structure, the way they play, the defensive effort, the tenacity. You went from a bottom-feeding lottery team to a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. So that tells me, clearly the coaching's there. Jalen Green, as you guys will see here on the screen, 13 points, averaging in a playoff series, when you're a top pick. And, you're talking about Game 7 of an NBA Finals. A Game 7, of a first round of an NBA playoff series. Not great. It was already speculated that he was possibly a piece that they could live with giving up. I love this trade. First of all, for Houston, you're getting automatic buckets from Kevin Durant. This guy just came off scoring 26 points a game last year, and that was his lowest since, some years prior to that. Keep that in mind, though. His low is a lot of players' high, so that's amazing within itself. You're guaranteeing yourself now that you have that scoring presence late in games that you did not have when you were playing Golden State in the first round. Also, the other thing to it is you have already a bunch of young guys. You can't afford to keep trying to bank and wait on the young guys to grow. It becomes a situation where at some point, if the young guys aren't developing as fast enough, we may have to microwave the process a bit. You've already done the drafting. You've already done the necessary allocation of resources. You have Sengun. You have the Jabari Smiths. You have, other guys there. You have the, I want to say it's Amin Thompson. It's either Amin or Asor. I want to say it's Amin Thompson, but correct me if I'm wrong. I apologize. But you have one of the Thompson brothers there. You already have a lot of pieces, foundational pieces, where you're setting yourself up to already win a championship in the Western Conference. And make no mistake, KD is still a threat to where he can go to a team and change fortunes. Let's be honest. If we're really just assessing it, or from a black and white perspective, looking at it, this keeps them within the top 3 of the Western Conference, and it puts them in the championship conversation. Now we still have to see what Lakers do, or some of these other teams do in the West, but if you're any other teams in the Western Conference outside of Houston, you're pissed the fuck off this morning, afternoon. Minnesota definitely wanted them, couldn't get them. San Antonio, who I thought was an even bigger candidate than Houston to get them, I think they even figured out okay, maybe we might have to give up Stephon Castle, which I feel was a no deal, because let's be honest, as much as De'Aaron Fox is a very good point guard, he does battle with injuries. Stephon Castle won Rookie of the Year, and he's coming off the bench. That's somebody you have to keep. That's somebody you got to figure out. You got to figure out a spot for him. So going to Houston, it just made the most logical sense. Now, if you're the Phoenix Suns, this is basic. Jalen Green is still a damn good player. Now, he had a horrible playoff performance, but that was his first time in the playoffs. We do expect with, playing with Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks coming with him, adding some semblance of defense. Because, again, I don't think Dylan Brooks plays great defense at all, but him playing a semblance of it will help this team. You're getting a number 10 pick from Houston in this year's draft, that's another help me now player. So for Phoenix, it was a win as well. I think it was a very successful trade for both teams. And ultimately, as I stated previously in another video, if you're Giannis Antetokounmpo, I need to see Milwaukee what moves you're trying to make, because I already know you're cash strapped. You're not necessarily in debt, but you can't do too much to really overhaul the roster this year without some guys saying okay to some trades, a la Damian Lillard and, so on and so forth. But that being said, I think Giannis is definitely the next piece in domino to fall. If you're New York, I think it's a no-brainer that you got to say, hey, look, we'll give you Karl Anthony Towns and one of our, 16-year-olds that ain't even ready yet, in a 2030-some-odd draft. We'll give you one of those picks. And maybe one of these bench players that ain't doing shit for us. If you're Miami, missing out on KD, you definitely got to think about it. I think San Antonio, it's useless because you have Wemby. But Minnesota's a team that I think you have to consider this, because if you're able to get Giannis there, that adds so much more of a offensive and defensive layer to what you're trying to do with the structure of your team. Obviously, you have to get off Rudy Gobert, but I think that's a very livable, circumstance or situation. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is a massive trade. So KD going to the Rockets, major move, kind of shifts the paradigm in the West a bit, but still a lot to be determined, and especially with a champion yet to be determined. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. I love you guys as always. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care. Enjoy Game 7 tonight. Stay plugged in. I'm going to have more updates coming along as the week goes along, and enjoy your Sunday. Hey to all my fans and subscribers out in the UK. Looking to get out this weekend, looking to make something of your week, then look no further than the Viagogo, the number 2 leading ticket seller in the world for live events, shows, and concerts. Definitely check it out. If you're looking for exclusive tickets, look in the description of my videos on the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. Take care and enjoy your day.